Hey y'all, it is Black History Month and there's all sorts of crazy stuff going on WoW Superheroes. First of all, Princess Aussie finally gets her chance to fight for the WoW World title that she feels that she never lost against Abilene Maverick. And we have tag team title go on the line with the Tonga Twins fighting against a really familiar adversary in Miami Sweet Heat. This is Steph and Kat Talk WoW.
Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs and the Ruben Studders. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape. Every one of us, I was kinda late, so I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the faith, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus on what's great.
That's right, guys. It is Steph and Kat Talk WoW coming at you live on this wonderful Wednesday, this wonderful WoW Wednesday. And of course, we are happy to be here live on all of our platforms. So if you guys are watching anywhere, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, anywhere else you're watching, thank you guys so much for joining the vibe. Of course, we have Eric Isaac parked in the comments saying hey to the both of us before the show even comes on. Thank you so much for your support. So welcome to Steph and Kat Talk WoW. I'm, of course, your girl, Stephanie Hardy, host and creator of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, contributing writer for Daily DDT, and color commentator, Book Your Girl, Book Your Girl, Book Your Girl. And, of course, I'm not alone. I am with my fabulous tag team partner, the creator of In Cat We Trust, an amazing writer in her own right, and a super mom, and just an all-around amazing woman. She is Katrina Blake. How are you, Kat?
I am well tired, but I am okay, ready to talk. Got 2 weeks to cover, so ready to, talk about the awesomeness that is well.
Absolutely. Of course, we did miss last week because, like we always say, life be lifing, but it's okay because as life lives, that gives us the opportunity to grow from what it is that we are going through and move through it and adapt to the different changes. And one of the ways we adapt to those changes is talking about both episodes of WoW that have aired in the last 2 weeks. So that's what we'll be doing here. So if we're on for a very long period of time, just bear with us as we go through everything. And of course, if you're not able to watch, as we're live, you can go back and watch on both of our YouTube channels. That's The Hardy Wrestling Podcast and In Cat We Trust. We have an entire playlist dedicated to this show. So please go through and pick out what you want to watch in terms of those episodes to catch up on what's been going on with WoW. So, this has been a stellar time in the world of women's wrestling. There's been so much going on, so much speculation, free agents, people, making different changes for their lives, making money for themselves, and so many different things. So, in the midst of that, WoW has found themselves sort of entangled in this because, of course, last week maybe a week ago or two, we talked about how the Tonga Twins might be tangled with Mercedes Moné, who is speculated to be making her debut in AEW pretty soon, next month. And they have been sharing all kinds of emojis, like money emojis and very cryptic things about each other on social media. So at some point, we might be seeing a collaboration between the two, but we don't know exactly how that's going to coalesce as of yet. But of course, tell us in the comments how you feel about that. But Katrina, how are you feeling about the speculation of what could be going on with these cryptic messages between the Tonga Twins and Mercedes Moné?
I think it's cool. We love the Tongas, we love them on WoW, but I'm also all for if people need to open a door or grow or expand, do what you need to do and get your coins. I'm all for that, and okay, play on the fact that the money, but get your coins if you need whatever you need to do to get that, get that. And so if this is what we're getting, I'm actually really excited about that.
I'm very excited about it too. All for it, anything that is for the excuse me, the progression of women's wrestling as a whole. I am all for it. So hey, either way, I'm really excited for it. But of course, we got 2 episodes to get into. So we're gonna start with the episode titled Aussie Aussie Aussie, Oi Oi Oi, which is amazing for us to talk about considering this weekend is going to be Elimination Chamber in Australia for the very first time. Don't know if I'm gonna wake up to watch it, but we'll see what happens. Um, this episode was titled that due to Princess Aussie having a place in the main event of this episode. So, of course, David McLane and Nigel Zane were on commentary, and we do get a visit from Miss Abilene Maverick, the Wild World Champion, and Katrina's sworn enemy. She comes out, and the crowd is not warm to her at all. They cannot stand her. Like, they really just don't like her because they just feel like she just takes the easy way out a lot of the time. And they were just booing her like a whole lot. And they showed a recap of her, of course, being the wild card in that championship challenge match that Princess Aussie made while she was the champion that Abilene Maverick lucked her way into and won. So as Abilene, comes out there, she gets on the microphone and she says, I'm the champion and I do not suck. Listen, as you all know, I'm your Wild World Champion. I know you're all so lucky to have me here. I have the honor tonight of defending my very shiny and very well deserved title against Princess Aussie. I am your champion. And she was just rubbing it in throughout this whole time. But of course, weirdly enough, David McLane tried to silence the crowd to get them, to be quiet as she was talking. And I'm sitting here like, sweetheart, they are not going to be quiet. They are not going to be quiet just so she can talk or just so she can hear herself talk. They are going to be raucous, okay? Wrestling fans are going to boo what they don't like and they're going to yay what they like. I mean, that's just the principle. So David doing all that was just kind of like, okay, sweetheart, yeah, let's move on. But then Abilene Maverick proceeded to say, thank you, David, you're the best. Now I have a message for Aussie. I heard what you had to say weeks ago about losing this championship to me. It really touched me. I'm just kidding. You can keep your little tears and I will keep my championship and show everyone why I'm the VIP. And then she left. And of course, we will see her later on down the road. But Katrina, since you do not like Abilene Maverick and have said so on multiple occasions, how did you feel about this promo?
I was like, girl, please. Like, I didn't even like that David was like telling people to be quiet. Like, I feel like sometimes he picks and chooses who to go to bat for. I don't particularly like that, especially when there was times he probably should have stepped up and put his foot down in situations with some of the things happening in WoW, and he did not. And so, do you guys just you telling the audience they need to let her speak is like, no. If I was there, I would be booed harder just off being told not to boo. I would have been like, okay, you're gonna get double the extra now because you're telling me that. But I'm like, girl, please, like, you do suck because you do take the easy way out, and you're sitting here acting like you were grinding or you were like some of the ladies who was trying to get a title shot and something didn't work out the way it was supposed to work out. And so I'm just like, are we not in the same wow, are we not watching the same sis? Like I don't know. So I was, irritated as I usually am when I see her on my screen. But I was like, girl, please, like, I roll.
Yeah, she do be acting like, that she really did come in and do some really like hard work in order to win the title. And you do make a valid point in the fact that David McLane, as much as we love him as the innovator and the creator of WoW and Glow, he does have his moments where he does sort of like chime in and say, oh, well, I'm the leader here. But then he doesn't really chime in the major moments where you would expect an authority figure to chime in. And it's kind of interesting how that happens. Maybe he doesn't do that because he's afraid or something. Like maybe, he's afraid that someone is going to bum rush him, and he'll be defenseless or something like that. But either way, I did find that quite interesting that he was on her side in that regard. But, Abilene clearly had a lot to say. And as the champion, whether we like it or not, she'll come out there and speak her piece and we'll boo her the entire time. So that's just the realness of it all. So, yeah, this, of course, ended, and this led to our very first match in this episode of WoW, which was a part of the semifinals for the WoW Trios tournament. And this was between the Brat Pack and Team Spirit. In the form of Pep Riley, Sasha Sparks, and Ariel Sky, because now Coach is in this episode, Coach is taking more of the coaching route because they brought in Sasha Sparks to sort of give her a little bit of a break. And cutely enough, on the flyer it says new Team Spirit. And I think that's just really cute and fun. So in this episode, we do get BK's bars. She rapped a little bit and she said, "Everybody pipe down. We've got something to say. Hey, coach, listen up. This is what you got." And then Gigi said, "Ariel, bye." And Ariel looked like mad irritated. And then BK said, "These are your top performers? You got a bunch of bench warmers." And Sasha looked so irritated by it that she started off the match against BK, and they had a good rhythm going, throughout it. And considering this was our first time seeing Sasha in ring, she really did hold her own. In the midst of all of these women, who had been doing it a little bit longer, even though you do have Pep Riley in there, who's a little bit newer than the rest of them, and then you also have Jay Boogie there too. But Sasha is the newest out of all of them, and she wound up doing a pretty good job holding her own as the match went on. And then there was a lot of speed and agility shown on the part of Team Spirit, but of course BK and Gigi, as well as Jay Boogie, were trying to wear them down and keep them from using all of their acrobats, and of course using a couple of their acrobatics of their own, as you see from Gigi right there, to topple Team Spirit. But the match wound up taking a very devastating turn in the idea that as Ariel Sky tagged in, and after Jay Boogie tagged Gigi in, she tried to hit, you, I guess you could say, like a head scissors slash hurricanrana from the top rope onto Gigi. But after she did it, she landed on the mat. She let her head landed on the mat really hard, and after she kept trying to keep going throughout the last few minutes of the match, she was stumbling. And once the referee noticed that Ariel Sky was stumbling and couldn't really continue at full speed, he decided to end the match, and the ENTs decided to come out. And due to match stoppage, there really wasn't a winner here. And it was really devastating to see someone as spirited and as strong as Ariel Sky sustain an injury like that. But of course, this is wrestling and accidents do happen. And you just gotta feel a sense of devastation because Ariel really did want to win with Team Spirit and go far in that trios tournament. And she was really excited with being with Pep and Sasha in that way. But, we do wish her the best in her healing. But that was really scary to see her, land that way and then try to continue to fight and then not be able to. It was really scary, but they stopped it immediately and carried her away, and that was the end of things. So Katrina, how did you feel about the match, and how do you feel about Ariel's injury that she sustained?
I think for what we got of the match, it was a good match. I think the ladies were showing, in regard to team spirit, what makes them team spirit, pep, the high energy, but also with the Brat Pack, as we have seen in particular with BK Rhythm and Gigi, that they have been on a bit of a roll. And while they, added J Boogie to it, and I'm not really sure how I feel about that because again, when we first saw her, she gave more the impression that she would be more on a face side, and so I'm not really sure how I feel necessarily still about her being aligned with them at the moment. But it was a good match until that happened. And as somebody who knows Ariel, at least in person, was not like, it was like, oh man, that sucked, and you didn't want to see that. But speedy recovery, and hopefully, she heals soon. And everything is all right because that's just what we hope when people unfortunately get injured in wrestling. But otherwise, I did think for the time that we got, it was good. I am curious to see what does this mean now, though, because as it really wasn't a winner, what does this mean now? For do they do the match over? Do they decide a winner afterwards? I'm curious of how that's going to play out. But otherwise, solid match.
Yeah, it was solid, and I did appreciate it, and it was just, it was just such a shame that it ended the way that it did, but of course, in that situation you can't really make a decision on who's going to, go forward in that moment because your main focus is whether or not your person who is hurt is okay. And ultimately all that matters is that, Ariel Sky is all right. But we will find out more about her as we go on in this episode. So after they showed, of course, after all of that happened, they showed a replay of the fatal four-way match to determine the number one contenders for the WoW Tag Team Champions. And and they of course replayed the part where the Mother Truckers, Big Rig Betty and Holly Swag got hit in the head by those mirrors by Vicky Lynn McCoy and Penelope Pink. And backstage, they showed Miami Sweet Heat, Lindsay and Lori talking all kinds of trash about everybody and talking about, how they couldn't believe David McLane took away their match from them and how, and basically how they had won the match fair and square, knowing that they didn't, because don't gaslight us. And then Lindsay was like, he's always screwing with Sweet Heat. Like, he knows that that title should be ours and he knows that that championship match should be ours. And then they decided that they were going to take their frustrations out in their next match. So this led to match number 2 on this episode happening, which was Miami Sweet Heat versus the Mother Truckers. And they wanted to teach them a lesson. And of course, they looked down on them and their truck girl lifestyle. I feel like there's a better term for that. But either way, they looked down on them a whole lot because of that. And also just because they're just really snooty. And they wanted to teach them a lesson. And of course, they came out there with the Fab Four, and Penelope and Vicky Lynn were on commentary. And Betty and Holly were ready to fight immediately. Like they were standing on business and they ran right in the ring and started tussling with the twins. And it was pretty good, except there was Lori and Lindsay utilizing dirty tactics in order to get the upper hand on the Mother Truckers. Lori planting her boot into Betty's throat. And they did a good job of isolating Big Rig Betty away from Holly a lot of the time. And it just got devastating after a while because I was just like, bro, like I really need for Holly to get in on this action. So once she finally did get tagged in, she slapped and kicked both of the Carlson twins in their faces. And then Lindsay broke off a count and knocked Betty off of the apron. And then they proceeded to throw Holly out of the ring. And the twins did prep for a suicide dive, but they wound up getting hit in the head with signs, like street signs that you see on the street and on the freeway. They got hit in the head with both of them. And they wound up getting a double pin on Miami Sweet Heat. And it was just really good to see the Mother Truckers get some revenge on the Fab Four and the Carlson twins in this way. And then weirdly enough, Vicky Lynn and Penelope tried to run in and jump them, but isn't Vicky Lynn supposed to be hurt? Isn't she supposed to be hurt? Because she has that neck brace on, right? But she's moving like she's healed. And she keeps telling David McLane all about her medical bills or whatnot, but you keep acting like you're fine. It's a miracle. But whatever, the Mother Truckers won, and that's all that matters. So, Katrina, how did you feel about this match and just how the Mother Truckers were able to get their win over the Carlson sisters?
I I think it was a great match. With everything that Miami Sweet Heat have just done in like the past with their shenanigans, with them always, it's always just being something. And unfortunately, there's quite a few people in WoW that has to have dealt with with the stuff that they were doing before previously. And so when you're in a situation like that and you're finally like, okay, what can we do to kind of even the odds a bit or make it so we can get a little bit of payback? I think this was a perfect time for, the ladies in this. I think, like, while it went a little bit haywire at the end, I do think this was necessary because all the shenanigans that was going on with Miami Sweet Heat in general, it's been a lot. It's really has been. And I'm like, all right, guys, all right, let's get this together. So I'm glad that, the big mother truckers got to get their payback. I'm glad it worked out in that way. But it's one of those situations where you're like, is this really gonna stop Miami Sweet Heat? Because I feel like they're always just involved in something. It's always something with them. It's always some kind of shenanigans, some kind of nonsense, and it's like even when we see certain people get, you know, their revenge per se, it seems like they have to do something else or start something else, and so that's always a little bit I match.
Yeah, you are right. It feels like even when you get a little bit of justice ahead of Miami Sweet Heat and the Fab Four, there's always something else on the horizon in which you feel like there's like a dark cloud over you. Like even when you think you're finished with them, they're not finished with you. So it's really crazy, you know, it's a really good thing that you said that because we'll get into it later. How they inserted themselves back into the thick of things when it comes to the WoW tag team titles. But you know, I'm glad the Mother Truckers at least got that win. And honestly, you would think that the Mother Truckers winning that match would have given them, you know, an opportunity to move forward into the title picture, but somehow it didn't. And that really devastated me because I'm just like, they were the ones who really should have won that Fatal 4-Way qualifier in the first place if it wasn't for the interference of the Fab Four. But that wound up not happening somehow. And it's just kind of like, how long do we have to wait before the Mother Truckers are the champions? Like, they've been, you know, pounding the pavement and putting that work in. So Holly and Betty definitely deserve to have that big opportunity, you know, when it does come, but I want it now. But either way, you know, they had a good performance and I'm glad that they actually even gave them a taste of their own medicine by hitting them with weapons because they always like to pull out their weapons with brushes and combs and mirrors. They said, "Look, you finna get these signs." Bah! And I was like, "Yes." Gotta love violence. Woo! I'm sorry, y'all, but that's wrestling. It's violent. It was really cool. So I'm glad that they did get the win. And I just need for Vicky Lynn McCoy to just stop pretending like she's sick. Girl, you're well. Take off the neck brace. Take it off. Take it off and stop giving a hard time to David McLane. Like, stop sending him your medical bills, which I'm more than sure really aren't, you know, that high because you're not sick anymore. So stop it. So after this match, they showed, of course, a replay of the previous trios tournament match, and they gave an update about Ariel Sky, saying that she sustained a concussion. So those are not fun. I know people who have suffered concussions. Those are really not fun things to deal with at all. So, like we said earlier, we do wish Ariel Sky a speedy recovery, and we hope that she can get back to action in a little while. As Team Spirit proceeds to, you know, gun for the WoW Trios title in this tournament. But yeah, really devastating stuff. But we hope that she does get better. So moving into the main event of this episode was relatively short because of everything that happened before. We got to Princess Aussie versus Abilene Maverick for the WoW World Championship. And when I tell you I was so relieved that this was happening, I was so relieved because Miss Mamas, Princess Aussie, I mean, should have been had her rematch. She should have been first in line to get her rematch for the WoW World title, even though it was all of those women in that championship challenge match that she thought of and created. You know, kudos to her for that. She should have been the first person in line because she was the former champion. And you can tell it truly devastated her to have her championship end so suddenly and and just so out of nowhere by somebody that she really wasn't prepared to face. And it devastated her due to the fact that when she won the title was stolen from her, so she couldn't have her crowning moment in the sun. And then she had to have the title given to her. And then on top of that, she held it for only so long and fought a lot of great people, but at the same time didn't defend it the way she wanted to in terms of length of time. And so to have it cut short by Abilene, you know, who came in out of nowhere as the wild card was just devastating for her. So to see her finally get her come up in here was fantastic. And as we get into the match, I was wondering, how was Abilene Maverick going to like win, or how was she going to face Princess Aussie, seeing as a lot of the matches that she's had, she sort of snaked her way through in different ways and just kind of made the easy way out. I will give credit where credit is due. Abilene showed out in this match. She showed us more of her actual abilities, because when it comes to Princess Oz, you got to be on your A game, because Miss Ma'am is gifted in so many different areas of wrestling that you can't just come in and just think you're just going to roll through on all your easy stuff and think everything's going to be okay. No, you got to come with your A game. And Abilene did that. She really did that. Even though it ended in a way that we would not have liked, per se, like Abilene, she did a fantastic job in this match. As you can see, with her giving a submission to Princess Aussie's arm through the ropes and everything, like she was doing stuff that I didn't even know she really could do. Like it was just really good to see this type of fight out of Abilene. But sadly, as Princess Aussie prepared for her, after she hit her cutter from down under, she was getting ready to hit her Aussie splash, and then Abilene Maverick rolled out of the ring, and then Aussie went back on the attack and pulled her back into the ring. And as she was pulling Abilene back into the ring, she kicked Aussie in the back, and then Maverick hit her elbow to Princess Aussie's head and covered her with assistance from the ropes. And Abilene is still our Wild World champion because, here again, she cheated, but she fought her way through the rest of the match. But my thing is, girl, you didn't even have to cheat. You were doing good by yourself. Why? Like, girl, why? And there, of course, is that impressive Princess Aussie Indian deathlock that she locks in, and it is just amazing to see. But this match was pretty good. I definitely would recommend that you go watch it if you haven't watched it already. But Abilene Maverick is still our Wild World champion, and that is how Aussie 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 Oi 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 ended. So Katrina, how did you feel about this match and Abilene's performance in it?
Well, she did better than previous ones. She actually didn't just run or hide during this matchup, and I'm not sure what was the deciding factor of her wanting to actually wrestle this time, because when she went against Penelope, she didn't really, and it's this is like, it's not to say that Penelope is somebody you probably should take too lightly either. And so I don't know what difference was of her deciding to be a little bit more serious about this. I don't know, it's because the crowd was all against her, as I am in spirit, because I wasn't there. But I don't know, it's because the crowd was against her and she was like, okay, I'll fight a little bit to kind of shut you guys up for a little bit. With that being said, and this is what usually gets me mad with some of the people in WoW, that they do good things and they do something that falls in line of, so we couldn't just do this correctly. We just couldn't get to the end without some kind of shenanigans. And here we are. And so I feel like, unfortunately, unless Princess Aussie do some of the stuff that other people have been doing, where they can just put themselves back in title matches, I don't get the impression she will do that. And so it looks like Penelope might have to start from scratch, which is unfortunate considering everything it took to get her to that title picture, for her to win the title, the nonsense after she won the title, and those other for it to just kind of be the way it was. And so that's unfortunate, and that makes me sad for Princess Aussie, because it's like, this girl finally did some more work and then she still cheated and you're still not champion, and I still have to see her another week in my Scream Match champion. So, like, she did better, and I can give her a kudo for that. But she still cheated, and I'm still irritated with the stuff that she does. And I feel like maybe she was trying to prove a point by really working, but it doesn't. It kind of negates that if right after your way of winning is cheating, and so I kind of feel like it dismisses everything else she might have done. But otherwise, she was better than previous weeks. But I'm still annoyed that she is champion.
Yeah, I understand that annoyance. And it's like I said earlier, Princess Aussie really did have a hard go of it. So the idea that she fought her hardest and knows that she definitely could have won if it wasn't for Abeline's shenanigans, as you always say, she really could have won that match and could have won the title back. Like if she had won the title back in this episode, like I probably would have passed out and cried tears of joy, because she just deserves it so, so much. But that's not to say that she won't ever have a chance chance again because Princess Aussie is a fighter. And if she has to climb her way back into the title picture, by starting from the bottom yet again, then I'm pretty sure she wouldn't mind doing that at all. It's just really upsetting because it's like you said, like Abilene was doing such a good job, but yet needed to cheat somehow. And now she's still the champion due to that thing. And it's just like, ma'am, how are we here with this champion doing all of this cheating when once upon a time we had a champion who was a fighting champion, was fighting everybody and their mama, improving herself every single week? And even if it wasn't every single week, she was still proving herself. So it's just like, how did we get here? But eventually gonna have to beat her. Somebody's gonna have to beat her. Maybe, well, she fought the beast before, but at the same time, it wasn't really that fair when she fought the beast. So I just feel like somebody has to beat her for that title. And I wanted to be Princess Aussie, honestly, but I am, sort of intrigued to see. Well, actually, no, she already fought Penelope Pink. Like, Abilene's fought everybody. So I feel like there is almost like another level of WoW women that she still needs to fight in order to prove herself even more, because we do have some WoW superheroes returning. Um, so eventually she's gonna have to fight more women. But that was the end of Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi. Abilene Maverick is still our WoW World Champion. And that's how that episode ended. So now we will be moving into the episode Put Me In, Coach, which aired this past weekend. And of course, this is themed off of Team Spirit, who we were just talking about. Here again, David McLane and Nigel Zane were at the table. One day they'll have me at their table. Let's just manifest that into the atmosphere. One day I'm going to be sitting at the table with David McLane and Nigel Zane, and it's going to be fun. And I'm going to cry every night, but it's going to happen. Um, I'm just putting it out there. I'm just putting it out there. So, Team Spirit started out the episode, and Ariel Sky surprisingly came out, and she was also wearing a neck brace, except unlike Vicky Lynn McCoy, she was actually in need of it. So, Coach Campanelli came out there on the microphone and said, "Some of you know, but for those of you who don't, Ariel Sky cannot continue to compete in the WoW Trios tournament. Sometimes as a coach, you need to know when to step back, and sometimes you need to know when to step up. So I looked at myself in the mirror and said, 'Put me in, coach.' So she said, for Pep Riley, for Sasha Sparks, and most importantly for Ariel Sky, I will continue in this trios tournament. You're welcome." So ironically, I actually thought that she was going to recruit Gloria Glitter to continue with them, because they had that little interaction backstage. And I was thinking, what if she's getting her to replace Ariel? But then she said, no, I'm going to do it myself. And that actually makes more sense in the grand scheme of things. So I was like, okay, coach, I see you trying to step up in Ariel's place. And here again, we do wish Ariel the best in her recovery. So this leads into the first match, which was Exile versus El Clan Latino. That is, of course, Vivian Rivera, Sylvia Sanchez, and Tormenta, of course, accompanied by Sofia Lopez, the world's greatest attorney. So this match was really good. Team Exile here seemed to have a better rhythm in how they were working together. They really did have a better communication skills, because here lately a lot of their matches have been ending with them not on the same page and fussing at each other and yelling at each other. And a lot of the aggression and the animosity does come from Genesis a lot of the time. But it looks like they all decided to lock in for this tournament in order to move forward in it. And at first, El Clan Latino was giving them the business. As you can see, you have Sylvia about to pop her over her shoulder after Tormenta gave her a noogie in the corner. And then they were definitely utilizing their hot tags in an amazing way as they kept moving in and out with El Clan Latino. But Ice Cold here was being very impressive. She hit like a sliding double knee to Tormenta multiple times, and I was just like, yo, like, I want to see more of Ice Cold step up to the plate, not only just in Exile but as a singles girl, because she was popping off in this match in ways that I hadn't seen before. And I was like, yes, ma'am, do it. Even though I know they're supposed to be the bad guys, but still, they were killing it. But either way, this match was amazing and I enjoyed it very much. And as it turns out, Exile wound up winning by pinning by Genesis hitting a schoolboy pin onto Vivian Rivera. And afterward, they cut a promo, and Genesis was saying, not even with the law on their side could they defeat us. We knew that those women would be tough, but we were going to be tougher. And because we have something that they don't, and that's hunger to prove themselves in this company. It is our time. And so Genesis and all of Exile seemed really focused, and they are now, I guess, going towards the finals of the trios tournament. So congratulations to them. Even though I would have been happier if El Clan Latino had won, but at the same time, Exile has had a real rough go of it over these past couple of months. So I'm actually glad to see them on one page. So Katrina, how did you feel about this match?
I thought it was a great match. I did, to your point about Ice Cold just getting more time to kind of shine a little more. I said even in the last season that Ice Cold was there, but sometimes it felt like she was kind of like floating. Like she was floating between spaces, floating between teams, not really sure what her role is. And while she did have a little bit of a shaky it seems shaky with Exile in the very beginning of the season. It does seem like they have probably like finally really accepted her. So not only that they accepted her, that they're in a better like space as a group, but also that she is actually doing what needs to be done. And I was like, okay, all right, like we got little bits of her season one, but in this season it feels like she's this has been good for her, as far as not that what they were doing was necessarily good, but more so good for her as in getting more in her bag to do what it's necessary for a team win. So I thought she was fantastic. And to be clear, like Tormenta and Las Bandidas are great anyway, but it considering how XL have literally just been, we kind of wasn't sure what was happening. We don't know how it was gonna go. For them to get the win, I think it was definitely a needed win. But hopefully, going forward, like they can continue to kind of work in this way, work together where it looks like they're more cohesive and not the weird where it's like, okay, are you guys together or not? Where it's just like it was more for self rather than for the group. So I thought it was a fantastic match.
Yeah, it was very fantastic. Like all of them were operating, incredibly well and as a well-oiled team. It was really good. But yeah, Exile has moved forward, and I'm wondering, who they'll have to, face in the finals eventually, because it's just like they've had all kinds of good competition throughout this tournament, and I have enjoyed it. So I can't wait to see who they will face in the finals, because whoever it is they're gonna have to fight is gonna have to put up a major fight, to go up against them, because they seem to be very determined and very locked in. So I can't wait to see how it goes. And I am glad that Genesis has sort of put her ego to the side, for the good of the team. Because sometimes because really that's what you have to do in order for all of you to succeed, and not just you. Like it's not just about you, like it's about everybody. Like there's no I in team. So you just got to make it work. So yeah, it was good to see this, and Exile is moving forward. So that's where we're at. So we did see a recap of the leader of the pack match with G.I. Jane, the class master, and the disciplinarian, which of course showed G.I. Jane winning that match, the class master and the disciplinarian attacking her after she won the match, and then her giving them a double clothesline to further assert her dominance. Yes, queen. So now that she's done that, G.I. Jane is backstage talking about, what her motivations are. And she said that she had been under Samantha Smart for far too long. And she said, look where that got me. She thought we had a team. And she was wrong about that. The disciplinarian and the class master double crossed me, but look where that got them. I'm going to show you why I'm a drill sergeant and how I got the name G.I. Jane. If it's going to be me against the world, I'm always ready. It's time that I stand on my own 2 feet and remember that this is who I am, and I will always be the leader of the pack. And when I tell you She gave me everything I needed in that promo. She gave me everything I needed. I was like, yes, because this is what I've been wanting. Because since I saw G.I. Jane, I remember the first time I saw her, it was when we were in LA. I feel like everything good about WoW happened in LA that time. It's hilarious how that happens. Like the first time I saw a picture of her, I just knew like there was something about her that I just had to have, and something about her that was just really special. And I'm glad that now she's being able to tap into that, and people can actually love her and cheer for her now because she's just so athletic, she's so articulate, she's just so like straightforward and ready to like prove herself, that I just felt every word she was saying in the promo, and I was just like, yes girl, let's go, let's get this cracking. So Katrina, before I go on a whole other tangent and talk about the match, how did you feel about the promo, and how do you feel about the direction of G.I. Jane now?
Well, I like it. I thought she was when we first saw her, it was Sully. Uh when we first saw her and she was paired up with them, I thought it was a good thing. I was like, you got a girl, got some good size to her. She could throw people around if necessary. Her look isn't, again, I'm all for women being in the boxes that they are and not what people expect them to be. And so she has all these things that will be different than what you might expect for a woman wrestling anyway. And so to kind of have her get to a point where she's now valuing that, and during I just have to say, during Black History Month, it's like, yes, just tell it, sis. During Black History Month, you let it be known and standing on business. Okay, that's what she was doing. I was like, yes, you right, sis, you right. And so I was all for that. I think that it's a good thing to be confident in yourself, but also can just believe in what you can do. She believed what she can do in a group, but it doesn't mean you can't even do better or thrive even more as a solo person. And that's what she did. And so I was all for it. I was like, yes, girly. Have been very happy about the other things she's been doing outside of WoW anyway. And so it's like, yes, let's see what you're gonna be doing now. So I'm with it. I was perfectly fine with everything she said.
Absolutely. And just to tie in the Black History Month part, that just definitely like it just gives an extra oomph to it. And I'm so happy that I actually was able to highlight her for Black History Month for my posts on all of my social media handles. If you've missed them throughout the month of February, please go and look at them. I've had an amazing time doing them, and they will continue into Women's History Month, except it'll be a little bit more diverse, of course, because it's all women and not just Black women. But either way, all of the love will continue to be shown to everyone. And I'm just so excited that I got to highlight her because I've always just loved her, and just, how beautiful she is and just how unique she is, in terms of her beauty. And I just love her strength. And it seems like she's definitely getting better, more and more in ring, because she faced off in her first solos match in a while against Chainsaw in this episode. This is the next match. Like, she fought Chainsaw. Everybody and their mama be scared of Chainsaw a lot of the time because she is a monster, right? But here lately, she's been tangling up with the best of them, like even with Holiday, who isn't scared of her, and so many other people, who have been scared of her. You have Holiday, who wasn't scared, and then you have G.I. Jane, who wasn't scared either. And I was so happy because usually Chainsaw like runs through a lot of the WoW girls because a lot of them are smaller than her. But Miss G.I.J. said, not today. Like, I have something to prove here. And she definitely did that. See, look at that powerful pose. That is a future WoW World Champion if I've ever seen one. Okay. So Chainsaw did try to use a lot of her older stuff that we do know her for, like her choke slam and stuff, and how she tried to like grab her by her neck. As you can see in that picture, oh my God, that was perfect. Um, she tried to grab her by her neck and choke her out. But the thing about G.I. Jane is she was able to use her long arms and her powerful fists to fight out of that chokehold. And she gave a lot of her big boots throughout this match and everything. And it was a good little back and forth. But G.I. Jane was not dominated, throughout the match at all. Like, she was giving Chainsaw a lot of what Chainsaw was giving her. And it was really refreshing to see that because, like I said earlier, so many people be scared of Chainsaw and they're smaller than her. But this time, like, she met her match. And even though, Chainsaw was trying to rake her face and rip her, front part of her face off, G.I. Jane was able to fight out of it and even to fight through all of those spears that she was going through right there in the corner of the ring. And she wound up hitting a new finisher that we're seeing from her called the DD214 in order to win the match. So G.I. Jane beat Chainsaw in an amazing turn. But she wasn't able to celebrate that long because Mrs. and Mrs. Haterade, the disciplinarian and the class master came out and attacked her, and the officials wound up breaking it up because David was telling them to come out here and break it up, but they were fighting her and beating her up with their weapons of choice, and Samantha Smart was talking them through it and everything, and it was just really sad. But I'm just sitting here like, y'all just can't let her win nothing. Y'all mad because Samantha played y'all against each other, and G.I. Jane was the smartest one, and she wound up beating y'all and becoming the leader of the pack, and now y'all jealous. Okay. And it was just crazy to see that. But either way, G.I. Jane still got the victory. Like, there is nothing taken away from G.I. Jane at all in this situation. She won the match. And I have a feeling that all of this stuff with Team IQ Superior isn't over yet. So, Katrina, how did you feel about this match? And how do you feel about Team IQ Superior coming out to attack G.I. Jane afterward?
Felt like they were doing some heating, honestly. Like, I thought it was a good match. I did like that G.I. Jane definitely didn't let Chainsaw scare her. And not that she hasn't had other matches. Not that people were. I don't want to use the word scared. Sorry, guys. Ambulance. I don't want to use the word scared necessarily because I felt like Chainsaw won against a few people where they tried to fight her, they just couldn't. I feel like it just didn't work out for them for size, for more determination, more aggressiveness, whatever the case may be. I think they just had a rough go at it in that regard. With that being said, I do like that G.I. Jane was definitely more for I'm gonna handle mine, and for her to not only do that but win it, it was cool, especially to have her first match technically away from Samantha and classmaster and disciplinarian. This is her first solo match after that, and so the fact that she won and did that on her own terms with no, like, even though she was kind of engaging in some cheating type activities very previously, very close to some time before, she did this on her own with none of that. And so for her to win and then to come out and do all that, it was like, girls, so this is making y'all look even worse, because why are you sitting there doing all this and y'all mad that sis is not in? She never bothered you. If she was bothering you or something, that would be different. But she wasn't. So you guys did all that and y'all still looking like you're just hating, like jealous, Like, there's no need for all of that. Your guys did what you did last time, and she was like, fine, I'm gonna go on my own and do what she needs to do. And she did that, and y'all still hating. Like, why y'all still so concerned? If y'all felt that she was wrong to be considered the leader of the pack, and she's gone now, why should she even still be bothered? Like, how is she a bother still? And so that's just sounded like they were just some good old fashioned hating. But even with that, I feel like obviously there's going to be some maybe some redemption or payback with her. I'm sure she want to get her lift back, as you like to say. And I'm sure she should. I feel like she should. But I thought it was otherwise great match. But those, they hating. I'm like, ooh, girls, well, don't be doing that.
Yeah, you hate to see it. See, what's so funny is after she won the leader of the pack match, what I thought was going to happen was that maybe G.I. Jane was actually going to still be a part of Team IQ Superior in some way. And I thought that she was actually going to be like helping Samantha Smart boss the other two girls around. That's what I thought was going to happen at first. But then as it turns out, when she won that match and they jumped her, I guess she took that, like, she realized who they were and realized how they were feeling and decided to leave herself, which is something that I can't blame her for doing, because when you're in that type of situation, you can either choose to stay around it or leave. And G.I. Jane has shown in this episode that leaving was the best thing for her, because clearly everybody was cheering for her. Everybody was, happy for G.I. Jane and how she had stepped forward and beat Chainsaw. Like, that's a huge deal to beat a WoW OG and beat one that is literally terrifying to the rest of the locker room except for Holiday. It's just like really crazy stuff. So G.I. Jane is really on an upward trajectory. I feel like she should challenge for the WoW World title at some point. I'm not sure, when it could happen for her, but I would love to see her, challenge her for the title. Like, I would just it would be really cool to see her go up against Abilene Maverick and possibly win the championship, because I don't think since well, actually, no. Since the Beast, we haven't had another black champion. And I would love for G.I. Jane to be the next one, because she's just so good. Like, she's just so good. And she just has that look to her that, like, if you see her, you know that she's somebody, like, for real, for real. So I would love for her to try to challenge for the title at some point, but of course we got to wait and see, because she is still, starting out, in the solo thing outside of IQ Superior. So we just got to see. But it's cool that she won, though. Like, big ups to her for that, because yes, ma'am, it was great. So after this match, we had a promo from Santana Garrett, who was getting ready to take on Jessie Jones. And of course, from the brawl that they had from their last match, Americana was injured, in the arm, from not only them fighting in a match, from her fighting in the match with Jessie Jones, but also from the attack afterward, because she didn't want to let her arm go, even though the referee was telling her to let it go. And so Santana said, I am sick and tired of girls like Jessie Jones. After seeing everything she's done to Americana and then she injures her, I'm taking out Jessie Jones, Amber O'Neal, and any of the other bullies here at WoW. Let's go. And then backstage, we saw the undefeated Adriana Gambino run into Princess Aussie. And then Adriana was like, whoa, watch where you're going, champ. Oh, that's right. You're not the champ anymore, are you? And I was like, that was rude. She said, I would have never known that, since I'm undefeated at WoW. And then Princess Aussie was like, well, maybe that's because you haven't stepped in the ring with me yet. And then Adriana said, well, let's change that next week. So on this weekend's episode of WoW, we will be getting Princess Aussie versus the undefeated Adriana Gambino. And I'm definitely intrigued by that, because I wonder if she is going to keep it against a hungry, keep her record against a hungry and possibly angry Princess Aussie, who at this point is trying to work her way back up to the top. So this leads us into match number 3, which was Jessie Jones versus Santana Garrett. And of course, Amber O'Neal came out there with her, and Americana came out with Santana Garrett. Now, this match started off pretty interesting, in the sense that Santana was trying to get quick roll-ups onto Jessie Jones and quick pinning attempts, but of course Jessie kept kicking out of them. And then Jessie immediately started attacking Santana Garrett's left arm by kneeing it multiple times, with and preparing it for a submission. But Santana refused to give up here. A lot of people in the ring, whenever they're in the ring with Jessie Jones and she starts working on their arm and then she submits them, they'll just tap out and then give up. But Santana is not made out of, just regular stuff. Like, she did not want to give up at all, because she wanted to teach her a lesson. And as they kept fighting, Santana was able to gain a little bit of the upper hand, but every time she kept trying and kept fighting out of different holds, Jessie Jones would just lock her back into him, or just knock her back down and grab her by her hair. And then it also helped Jessie that Amber was out there to help her cheat by distracting the referee and pulling on her hair and beating her up, while the referee wasn't looking. And sadly enough, you had Americana, trying to do the right thing and tell the referee, you need to go over there and stop them, but it would always be too late. And it's just like, a part of me was like, Americana, you have one arm. You have a healthy arm and you have healthy legs. Why don't you go over there, even the odds, and just snatch Amber O'Neal off instead of just being helpless and injured? Like, that's what I wanted her to do, but she wound up not doing it. And it's just like, oh my God, girl, I understand you're trying to be all good and everything, but I'm gonna need for you to, like, play. You can still be good and still play a dirty game. Like, come on. But in the midst of that, when Jessie Jones had climbed up onto the top rope and Santana was trying to, like, take advantage of that, Amber O'Neal here again gave a distraction to the referee, as she covered her. And then Amber started attacking Americana, who was defenseless, and she wound up covering her and grabbing her tights and wound up getting the win there. So Jessie Jones cheated, got the win, And her and Amber laughed their way off of the screen. And yeah, I still have a feeling this isn't over. But I was really irritated that it ended this way because I'm just like, Santana was submitting her out and everything, but then Amber was like, "Yeah, let me just go beat up on Americana." And I was just like, "See, Americana, if you had just taken her out before this had happened, then maybe this wouldn't have happened." But I don't know. Katrina, how did you feel about this match?
I do think it was a good match before it got to the end as far as the action. I do see this is my and this is why we're in this scenario right now with Americana, because you don't have to necessarily cheat to kind of stand up for yourself. You don't necessarily have to be engaged in anything negative to kind of stand up for yourself, stand up for your friend. And so my thing is like, you got to this exact situation because you didn't stand up for Jessie. And Jessie felt the way about that. Or Jessie felt that and even though Jessie was doing stuff necessarily not appropriately, she felt the way about that. She like, well, am I not like, do you not, are you not concerned about what I'm doing? Are you not concerned about me trying to get to this point? So we got this literally off that same decision of kind of just trying to be too kind about a scenario. And so now that you're hurt and you had your friend, come here to help you, and now you're kind of engaging in the exact same thing that brought your friend here in the first place, that put your friend in this feud in the first place. I'm gonna need Americana to get it together. I'm gonna need her to look herself in the mirror whenever it is she is back in the locker room and be like, girl, it's okay for me to step in if needed. It doesn't necessarily mean you're cheating. That is driving me insane. And maybe that's just me, because I feel like even like I'm a bit extra with my friends, and I feel like me being a mom makes it 20 times worse. And so like I'm like quick, like, excuse me, like, who you doing that too quick? Then they're gonna tell me twice, like, oh, I'm right there. And I'm like, girl, do you not have that same level of like, I don't know, dedication or like loyalty, or even like just the need to be protective? I don't understand. Like, you as a mom who didn't just, I'm not saying, are you trying to play this nice, like, oh, everything? Like, no, girl, like, you have a kid, you know how this goes, you know how it works. Sometimes you gotta let people know what it is, and you can do so without necessarily cheating. And so I'm like, girl, like, you have Santana in all these situations because of your choice before, and now you're still making the same choice. And so I'm annoyed. With that being said, I do think Santana had some good moments, but Jessie cheating and holding the tights to win, that falls in line of Jessie, saying even a few weeks ago in the interview, that she's going to do whatever she's going to do to get the win she wants to get and to get where she needs to get. And so that I was not surprised by. I was more irritated because I expected Jessie to do something funny. That Americana was just like regular, like, girl, get it together as a friend. Get it together. Like, what are you just sitting there? Like, if you're gonna just be sitting there not doing anything, gonna stay in the back. What are you out there for? It's kind of like defeating the purpose. If you're not gonna do anything, then stay behind in the back and let Santana, as the saying goes, do bad by herself. And that's the case. Like, girl, like, get it together. She was annoying me with that. I'm like, again, have you not learned anything? But otherwise, it was a good match.
Yeah, I think what Americana, I feel like Santana and Americana are so similar that maybe she feels that because they're both very straight laced, good all American girls, as they say, that she feels like Santana will understand that she doesn't want to get fully involved on behalf of her, and she can count on that. But at the same time, when you have two girls like Jessie and Amber who do whatever it takes to win by any means necessary, you have to fight fire with fire. And even though I understand that doesn't make sense, like in the literal sense with the elements, you do have to really like fight the way that another person is fighting in order to get the upper hand. And it just doesn't make sense for Jessie and Amber to keep winning and for y'all to keep challenging them if y'all aren't gonna like change up your game. Like, you have to be able to change up levels of your game in order to evolve. You can't just remain the same. And I feel like Santana and Americana love to remain the same in a lot of ways, but they're gonna have to learn how to evolve and adapt if they're gonna want to like get the upper hand on these girls who have bullied them, and basically made them feel small in this way. Like, you can't just sit there and just let your friend get beat up and let them distract the ref all the time and you don't do anything. Even though I understand you're injured, but at the same time, even if you're injured, you can still be effective. And the fact that Americana wasn't really disappointed me. So hopefully, at some point we can get, a steady conclusion to this, which winds up giving Americana and Santana like a victory at some point. But either way, they're going to have to change some things around if they're going to have to do that. So, or if they're going to want to do that. So yeah, it's crazy. But here again, Jessie Jones is the winner. And like Katrina said, please check out her interview that she did with Jessie Jones on her YouTube channel and my YouTube channel as well. And check out the other ones that we have coming through the pipe later. So before the main event, last week they showed a replay of the mother truckers visiting David McLane in the men's bathroom. This was really funny because I'm just like, yo, why are y'all just, trying to ask for what you want in the bathroom? Y'all could have went to his office. And David was like, what are you doing here? And they kept asking him for a match against Vicky Lynn McCoy for revenge. And he was like, well, if I give you the match with Vicky Lynn, will you promise to get out of the bathroom? And they were like, yes, we'll do just that. And so they got out of the bathroom. And so I guess at some point, if not this weekend and maybe next weekend, we will be getting a match between Holly Swag and Vicky Lynn McCoy. And of course, this weekend we have Princess Aussie versus the undefeated Adriana Gambino. So we've got cool stuff to look forward to. So moving into the main event, we have the Fab Four coming out and cutting a promo before the match. Lana Starr basically saying that Miami Sweet Heat belongs in the main event because they're just destined for greatness. And David McLane had to get them together and say, hey, it's a miracle y'all even got this match considering the mother truckers won that match first. But hey, it's whatever. They still took the win, and Penelope and Vicky got on commentary, and yeah, this is how the WoW World Tag Team Championship match got started. You got twins versus twins again. Um, they are each other's one true pairing, one true partnerships, and this match was no different than the last matches that they have had against each other. It was really good stuff going into it. It was very athletic. All the twin magic was happening in the match. Everything that we've come to know from Kona and Chaos was on display here, and all of the craftiness and the caginess that we know from Miami Sweet Heat was on display here. So every time I've seen the twins fight each other, it just seems like they just up their game each and every time. And this match was definitely no different from that. But I do feel that Miami Sweet Heat was way more cagier this time and way more apt to like isolate the twin Kona and Chaos from each other a lot of the time and beat up on them. Um and right when it looked like the plan wasn't going to work out for them, we heard Penelope say, it's time for plan B, it's time for plan B. And then a Kona splash was executed onto Lori, but then we saw interference from the Fab Four and pulling in and throwing a lot of both of the tag team titles in the ring. And the referee was distracted by one of the Carlson sisters holding a title, and then the other Carlson sister hit Kona in the back of the head with the WoW World title, and she covered her for the 1, 2, 3. And now we have 3-time WoW Tag Team Champions in the form of Miami's Sweet Heat. Shenanigans, cheating all around, no confetti for them, but yet they were celebrating. And that's how the episode ended. Lindsay and Lori are our new tag team champions of WoW. Katrina, how do you feel about this? And yeah, I really don't have anything to follow that. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I don't know, like, this is what I mean about David with reference to the fact that when Abilene was out earlier in the, previous episode, he was just like, oh, you gotta, like, don't boo her. And he was all concerned. And then in the situation where he tells them, oh, well, you guys shouldn't be in here anyway, then why are they in here? Why didn't you, David, put your foot down? How are you gonna say it shouldn't be you, but you're allowing the match to happen? That's kind of a bit contradictory. If it's not supposed to be them, then why is the match happening? The match is happening. You allowed them to have this match, even though you and us, we the viewers, but you also know that they shouldn't have this match. So to say all that, and then for it to end that way, I'm just like, no, this is what I'm talking about. These shenanigans. It's unfortunate, because like I said, I felt the Tongas should have had it the very first place. I thought it should have been them from the very beginning, from season one. I thought it was supposed to be the Tongas. It should have been the Tongas. It was pure shenanigans with the Miami Sweet Heat. To do all that and to have that where it was like she said it's plan B. The referee, because for some strange reason, the referees in WoW never seem to know how to have 20/20 vision. I'm gonna need people to get the eyes checked, wear some glasses. I don't know, but get it together. So you don't see any of this happening, and then it's allowed to go on, and now the Tongas are no longer champions. And it's just like, now, David, are you gonna do something this time? Are you gonna actually do something and make them do the match? Or you're gonna make them restart? Because that's what I would do. Or you should never give it to him in the first place. It's like he picks and kind of chooses when to want to say something. And as the person in charge, you better, like, I don't know, put your foot down, say something, like act like the boss man you're supposed to be. And that annoyed me. And so to do all that and then to have the Tongas lose and to lose in that fashion for the Miami Sweet Heat to be champion again, it was like, oh, I guess they can just do whatever they want to do. There's never any true, real repercussions for all the stuff they've been doing since season one. It's like they always get like a slap on the wrist and more opportunities, and I just don't understand that. So yes, I thought it was a good match, but I was highly, highly agitated with the end. And I'm like, and this what I'm talking about, guys, because y'all gotta always do these shenanigans, and y'all just be letting stuff go down, and nobody does anything, and it's like, why? Why? But it was a good match. I just wasn't particularly happy with how it ended.
I wasn't happy with how it ended either. And something weird that happened to me, I didn't initially find out that they had won the titles while watching the program. I had it spoiled for me because WoW comes on in different times all over the country. And WoW doesn't come on for me until 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on Saturdays. So I saw someone tweet about it who had already seen it. And I was like, what? And I was devastated. And then number two, to look at the episode in full myself and see how it ended devastated me further because the Tonga Twins worked super, super, super duper hard in order to win those titles. And like you said earlier, like we felt like they should have had those titles from jump, in that tournament when they fought the Carlson twins, in the finals for that tournament. We felt like it should have been them, but here again, they cheated because they had aligned with the Fab Four. And it just made me feel really sad because I'm just like, as good as the Carlson twins are, they always feel they have to cheat somehow. And it's just like, at what point are you going to actually like be real with yourselves and understand that maybe you're just not that good enough to beat an actual team that operates on under their own steam? Like, you have to be highly insecure to align yourself with a team like the Fab Four who just uses dirty and underhanded tactics for you to get what you want. And third of all, I'm gonna need for David McLane to actually stand on business for real, because it's like in the earlier episode he wanted to come down on the fans for talking while Abilene Maverick was talking like we're children in middle school, but then at the same time it's like you wanted to lay down the law when the Carlson sisters cheated in that fatal four-way and you didn't give the mother truckers the match because they rightfully deserved it, and then you wound up giving it to Miami Sweet Heat anyway. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make good walking around sense. And I really honestly feel that the Carlson twins should not have the tag team titles because of the way that they've been acting. And honestly, if you're the person that's in charge and if you can make declarations from the commentary table, he could have reversed that decision and kept the match going for like a few more minutes, and the Tongas could have won that match again in the traditional sense, since you want to make rules all the time. No diss to you, because we do give you your respect as an OG out here in these wrestling streets, but we also want to hold you accountable because we love you. And honestly, we need you to put your foot down. We need you to put your foot down and stop just letting people just get away with things just because you want to pick and choose when you want to see stuff. No, you need to see stuff all the time. If you are a leader, you need to see everything. And considering you saw it there from the commentary disc, you could have reversed the decision the same way you reversed the decision for them winning the contendership, for them cheating. You could have done that, but you didn't. And it's just like, sir, where's your head at? So yeah, Miami Sweet Heat, they're the champions, but hopefully the Tonga Twins can get a rematch of sorts eventually. But either way, I'm devastated. The Tonga Twins are everything. We are definitely ride or die for them regardless. But the idea of Miami Sweet Heat making history as 3-time Wild Tag Team champions, but them cheating to do it is just unfair, and it's trash. But that's how this episode ended. And of course, we've reached the end of our time together. So thank you guys so much for watching us here on Steph and Cat Talk Wow every Wednesday live, unless otherwise stated. Thank you for supporting us. And of course, this is a great time to promote our interviews. So if you have not already, please watch our interviews with the Tonga Twins, Chaos and Kona, with Jessie Jones, and specifically this month, to cap off your Black History Month, watch our interview with Keta Rush. And we have 2 more interviews coming down the pipe for Black History Month this week. So be on the lookout for those as well. And just continue to watch and support us as we cover WoW Superheroes, the hottest all women's wrestling show on television. So, Katrina, thank you so much for joining me, per usual. And just tell everybody where they can find and follow you and what you've got going on.
You guys can follow me on most social media and Cap Trust, TikTok, Threads, Twitter, and Instagram. E3. As Steph said, we do have some awesome interviews with some of the ladies at WoW, so please check those out. I did do an interview recently with Alyssa Marino, who is an absolutely fantastic woman who just wears all the hats and do so gracefully. And it was a really fun chat, so definitely go on my channel and check that. I will be having some other videos popping up. Like I said, it's just been a very hectic few months. The mom life just never ends. So it's been hectic. It's been a little insane. It's been a little crazy, but stuff is coming. And again, just thank you guys for your support.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And just know you can follow me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram, X/Twitter, and Threads at Queen Steph Hardy, and follow the Hardy Wrestling Podcast on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast, and on Twitter at Hardy Wrestle Pod. And of course, subscribe to both of our YouTube channels, In Cat We Trust and the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. The logo might look a little different because it is Black History Month, but either way, it's the same channel. And just check out everything that we have done over the past few years, and also over the past couple of weeks as well. And also check out WoW Superheroes and support women's wrestling as a whole throughout all promotions. Yell and use your voice to support women in all things, and also supporting women in working in higher up positions in wrestling as well. We want to take over. We want to trickle in because we have brilliant minds. And as long as we have brilliant minds, and as long as we keep raising our voices, we will evolve and do great things in professional wrestling, and we will not give up because this is our world. So, of course, this has been Steph and Cat Talk Wow, brought to you by the Hardy Wrestling Podcast and In Cat We Trust. And until next time, bye, y'all.